Welcome back to a new video, and today we're taking on Barrio Cool 121. So I do want to shout out the team at Rorian Legacy for making the arrangements for me to finally actually get back my PvP team, and this may lead to more content in the future. This was actually a battle I did today, and I will link the Discord server in the description. But shout out to Aureus and Breach for making the arrangements once again. So anyways, I was expecting it to start with Shuckle, so I wanted to lead behavioralist so I could go for a wall switch and break his 30, and then if he goes for like entry hazards, I could go for a defog with Mandibuzz. So that's exactly what I decided to do. And like I said, I always say this, whenever you see someone using an entry hazard Pokemon, a lot of the times they just tend to start with it. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it's a good thing to keep in mind, because then you can act accordingly. And when they turn off team preview, that's probably because they're trying to run an entry hazard Pokemon. It's a pretty typical thing for these types of players to do. So anyways, I went for a defog twice because I wanted to shut down any of his attempts, and the good thing is he doesn't have toxic. But now he goes for an encore, and this actually has me really concerned, because it gives me the vibe that he's probably gonna try sending out a Pokemon that can try setting up. And I remember seeing in his team that he had a Volcarona, and that's what I was really scared of, because I don't even have haze on my Toxapex, so I don't really have a reliable way of shutting it down other than stopping it before it could actually get started. So I figured he's probably gonna try and go into Volcarona here, because it's gonna be a free switch, and he knows that he can do some big damage to me while my Mandibuzz is out, and like, you know, I don't want him to get that set up. So I was expecting him to go into the Volcarona, and that is in fact exactly what he does. So that was a great read right there, and now I have some time to really deal some destruction, because I mean, I know that this guy doesn't really have a great Pokemon that can come in and check Charizard. So you know, this would be a great chance to actually set up a Dragon Dance. Although at the same time, I still do have to be really careful, because this Volcarona can get out of hand and fast if I don't deal with it early, especially if he's running a different type of Z move. So you know, you don't want Volcarona to get set up. So I was actually expecting him to switch out, but he decides to stay in, which is a surprise, but that's totally fine. Although he keeps getting the speed tie out here, so I have full speed investment in this Charizard, so that does kind of suck. Although now I decided to go for a Flare Blitz, because I want to take this down. And I'm surprised because he goes for another Quiver Dance. That wasn't what I was expecting him to do, but I'm not going to complain either, because we are able to make work of that Volcarona, and that's going to go a long way in this battle, because Volcarona can be deadly. My team is not really opted to handle it too well, so you know, like I said, it's great that that thing is down. So now he goes into his Greninja, and I decide that it's probably worth staying in here, because if I can take out his Greninja too, that will take me a long way, because Greninja is a really scary Pokemon, so I want to make sure I handle it before it gets out of hand. So I hit him with a Dragon Claw here, and that is enough to take out the Greninja. His Water Shuriken won't do too much damage to my Charizard, because I have some really good physical defense. So now he pulls out the Shuckle, and I'm not fully sure what I want to do here, because you know, this Shuckle is something I want to take down. So I decided to hit him with a Flare Blitz, although unfortunately it isn't enough to take out the Shuckle, and we actually died to all the chip damage. So then he goes for a Sticky Web. I'm not too sure why I failed, although I figured I should go into Mandibuzz and, you know, defog it. Although this was actually quite a big mistake, because I mean, the Sticky Web actually did not get set up. I was thinking it got set up, but it just said it failed, although you know, it didn't. And then he actually goes for a rest. So I mean, I could have actually just taken care of this. I don't know why I didn't. I mean, I probably should have. Yeah, because I was expecting it to switch. So that was not a good call. So anyways, he goes for a rest, and now his Shuckle is all healed up. So I decided to go into my Heliolisk here, and I was thinking I was gonna go for a Surf, but then I was like, well, he might actually predict that and go into a Moongus. Although I predict wrong, because he actually stays in. And I went for a Wall Switch anyways, because I figured I can get Sizer in too and do some big damage. I considered the Dynamax, although really I don't know how to use that mechanic, and I'm not sure how fair it is with Mega Evolution, so I decided to avoid it for now. Now he goes for an Encore, not really the best move in his situation because this Sizer is Choice Bandit. So it's not like I couldn't do, it's not like I could change my moves, so you know, it is what it is. And I decided to just go for another Bullet Punch because, you know, I'm not sure there's anything that can really switch in too easily without, you know, losing a bit. Like I was thinking, if he goes into Sizer here, which he might, he's still gonna take damage, and Sizer typically doesn't run much recovery unless it's like a Mega and it's running Grease. So here he goes into Amoonguss, and the Bullet Punch actually is pretty weak against this, so this must be a really physically bulky Amoonguss because it did take in that hit really well. So now I gotta figure out what I want to do against this Amoonguss because Charizard is down, and that would have been my main answer, which is unfortunate. I really wish I preserved it longer, but now I'm gonna have to suffer the consequences of that. But anyways, I was expecting to go for a Spore, and the great thing about Mandabuzz's ability, Overcoat, is that it's immune to it. So that was great because now I don't have to worry about falling asleep. Now, one thing we did agree before this battle was to follow the sleep clause. So really all I need to do is sacrifice one Pokemon to him, and he can't really put anything else to sleep. So I gotta figure that out down the line, who I want to send out as a sacrifice. So anyways, now he goes into his Sizer, and I went for U-turn expecting him to switch. Although I really can't get too much momentum because, you know, Charizard is down. Sizer and Heliolisk can't really do too much damage back to this Sizer. So I'm not fully sure what to do. Heliolisk is tempting, although I figured that Sizer actually might be better here because if he has an item and I hit him with Teeth, I could steal it, and that could actually go a long way for me. So that's what I decided to do here, and I'm gonna hit him with Teeth. Now you might be wondering, why am I missing a lot of the essential moves? Like typically with Toxapex I have Haze, and with Sizer I have Knockoff. Well, how this game works, or how it is that it doesn't have a move command, and that's typically how I'd have to get the moves. Now with Toxapex, Haze is an egg move, so I can probably figure out a way to get that to happen, although, you know, right now that wasn't the priority because I did just want to get a battle in. And with Sizer, Knockoff is actually a tutor move, which isn't accessible in this game, so I don't think there's actually any way I can get it. I might just switch it out for Psycho Claw so I can actually do big damage to poison type Pokemon, although you know, for now I'm gonna have to deal with the circumstances. So anyways, he goes into Amoonguss here, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do here because, I mean, he's probably going to go for a Spore, or he might actually expect me to switch out and act accordingly to that. But anyways, I decided to just go into Mandibuzz because it's the safest play here. If he goes for Spore, that's good. If he doesn't go for Spore, that's also fine. So here he goes into Jolteon, which can be a problem, although I'm not, you know, too afraid of this guy because I have Florges, which is a special wall. So, I mean, his T-Ball does really good damage. However, it's not going to be enough to really tread in the Florges. So he hits me with a Hidden Power next. I don't know if he was trying to make a prediction here, but, you know, that didn't do that much damage. So that was good because, you know, I was able to keep my Florges really healthy because of that. And I considered switching out here into Heliolisk because I'm expecting him to go for another T-Ball. Although I figured that I should actually probably keep Florges at good HP because that could actually go a long way for me rather than letting him take too much damage. So he goes for a T-Ball here, loses a lot of HP from the Life Orb, which actually cost him quite a lot because if he had Choice Specs, he probably would have been a lot more better off, especially because I don't have a ground type. Although, you know, in this circumstance, I'm really grateful that he had Life Orb instead of anything else because he couldn't be as effective. So the Moonblast does really good damage, and that's probably gonna help me deal with the Jolteon later because then I can just make sacrifices because he's gonna go down eventually to the Life Orb damage. So here I went for a Wish because I wanted to make way for a Pokemon to come in, and he goes into Amoonguss here, so I decided to go into my Sizer. So here he decides to Gigantamax, which is the first time I've actually seen this in a battle, and his Max Ooze is able to successfully land on my Steel type. I'm not sure how Gigantamax mechanics really work, but you know, it is what it is. So anyways, here I decide to go into Toxapex because I want to waste his turns. He goes for a Max Guard, which is fine because that's a waste of his Dynamax, and I decide to just go for an Icy Wind because I want to lower his speed and kind of like slow down the Amoonguss from being too scary. So here he goes into Sizer, and that's perfectly fine because Toxapex actually likes to come in on Sizer. Unfortunately, I don't have Haze because Haze would basically shut down the only really scary Sizer in this matchup, which would be Swords Dance Sizer. But I do have Scald with a chance to burn, so I'm definitely going to try fishing for that if I can get lucky. So anyways, here I'm kind of tempted to switch out because I don't really like seeing this set up on me. Although, you know, at the same time, Toxapex really is the best Pokemon to be in other than Mandibuzz. So I decided to hit him with the Icy Wind, mainly because I wanted to get the speed on this guy, and also so that Mandibuzz could come in if Toxapex goes down and I could finish him off with a Foul Play. However, it looks like, you know, we are going to be fine here because he's not really doing too much damage with his Iron Head. And all I really need here is a burn to shut down this Sizer, which we do finally get on this turn. So his Iron Head will no longer be effective, and this Sizer is no longer going to be that good against my team because Toxapex is a hard check to Mega Sizer unless it has Cycle Cut, which is something I might run on my own Sizer. So anyways, here he goes down to the burn damage, and that's great because Sizer will no longer be a problem of ours. And now he goes into Jolteon, so I'm definitely going to switch out here because I really don't want to take in a T-Bolt on my Toxapex, especially when this is a Life Orb, and probably, you know, EV trained with the full EV setup, IV setup, so, you know, I don't want to mess with this guy. So here I decided to just go for a Wish. I'm thinking if he goes into Shuckle, it's going to be fine, and Amoonguss will also not be much of a problem, and if he attacks, he's going to go down to the Life Orb damage, which he does, and that's great because now Jolteon is down, and all he has left is Shuckle and Amoonguss. So Amoonguss still is a really big problem because I don't really have a way to directly break through it. Although, if I can take out his Shuckle, then his Amoonguss won't be very effective because it won't be able to access Regenerator anymore, and then I could find a way to whittle it down because most people running Amoonguss aren't going to be running Synthesis, and even if he was running Synthesis, he only has 5 PP, so, you know, that won't last forever, so I can eventually, you know, wear it out. But the main mission here is just taking care of the Shuckle. So anyways, I know he's going to go for a Spore, so I figured I should just go into Toxapex and sacrifice it due to the nature of the Sleep Clause. So here now he switches out into his Shuckle, and this is a difficult time because I'm not sure what I want to do here. It's tempting to go for a U-turn, predicting that the Amoonguss will come back out, although I have the gut feeling that he's probably just going to try and stay and go for a rest. So I go for the Bullet Punch, and luckily I read that correctly because he stays in, and that is Shuckle gone for the game. And that basically kind of solidifies the victory here for me because all he has left is his Amoonguss, and I have 5 Pokemon remaining. So worst case, I can PP stall him because he can't poison this Toxapex, and I can just rely on Regenerator to wear him out. And you know, that's like the last case circumstance though. What I want to do right now is to try and wear him out. So first things first is going to be to lower his speed to ensure that, you know, everything can outspeed him. Although surprisingly, I think Toxapex actually outsped even without the Icy Wind. And now I'm going to just try and get a burn on this Amoonguss here, which will, you know, basically ensure that he's going to go down because his leftovers damage will be met with the burn damage. And I think actually the burn does more than the leftovers recovers. So now we did get the burn and we're in a good spot. Although I figured it's probably a good time to get in Sizer. Although he goes for a Spore, which does kind of suck. Although it's not, you know, a big deal because I can just switch out again and get something else in. Or I could just stay in and just go for a U-turn. So, you know, I'm going to stay asleep a few turns. Although other than Spore, it's not too much that this Amoonguss can do to Sizer because I have a 4 times resist to his Grass type attacks, and I have an immunity to his Poison type attacks. So for some reason though, I started going into Shuckle. I'm not sure why this happens. This is a bug I've seen consistently with Sizer, and this is not something I want to mess around with here because, you know, I want to keep in Sizer, especially when I have Florges available, because with Florges I can just go into Wish and then I can revive Sizer and, you know, bring him back into the game. So I have all these resources available. There's no point trying to get rid of Sizer here, even if it's for extra damage, because, you know, I really don't know what this guy has on the Amoonguss, and I don't want to take my risk because I mean I know he has Giga Drain and Spore, but I don't really know the rest of his moves, so he could actually have Synthesis and Rest. Who knows? I hope he doesn't, because that would be bad, but you know, that's all something that we're gonna have to find out. So anyways, here he goes for another Giga Drain, although I forget that Mandibuzz should probably come in here because he can't put me to sleep, and I should be able to do consistent damage to him, whereas he actually probably can't do that much to me. So he goes for a Giga Drain, and I think that this right here is gonna be the turn that I finish him off with Foul Play. So that right there is a great game, really good fight. Shout out to this guy. Like I said, he is the co-founder of Rorian Legacy, and hopefully we will be able to get more battles in, and perhaps even a rematch in the future. But this right here is good game.